right. I think we're live. Are we live? Are we alive, people? I mean, I know the starting soon screen was alive, but can you see us? Hello, community. Do your usual, I can't hear you, or I can hear you. Hello, Nemo's Pet. Greetings from North America to Europe. And Traveler Fire says, yup, okay. Yes, all right, they can hear me, but I guess they should probably know if they can hear Miku or Brett. So, Brett, do you want to say hello and who you are and all that fun stuff?
Hi, everybody. My name is Brett. I'm the executive producer on Neverwinter. I've done one stream here before, and so now getting into the second one.
All right, that sounds good. Now, Miku, who are you?
Hey everyone, this is Miku from the Neverwinter Systems Design Team. I've only done, I think the last stream was like the introduction stream with Epic, so it's been a while, but hey.
Yay! All right, woohoo! Yeah, I like the Miku emotes. Emotes that makes me happy. So hi everybody. Yes, for those of you who don't know me, I am Nitocris or Julia, the community manager for Neverwinter, and we have another stream this week. No PowerPoint today because I like actually seeing people's faces and the smiles on my coworkers' faces. I don't get to see them very often, so because
I like PowerPoint.
you do like PowerPoint. Well, maybe we'll come up with a PowerPoint presentation for you someday, Brett. We'll come up with an idea. Yeah. But yes, we are here to talk about rewards. I had mentioned a few months ago that I had planned on setting up some streams on different topics. We've covered several things so far. And today we are going to talk about some of the questions that you've all asked in past streams about this item or rewards gotten where, or, things related to rewards that you've always heard me say, that's for another stream. Well, guess what? This is the other stream, hopefully. If there is stuff that we can't answer, we'll let you know. Hey, we can't answer that, but we'll look into it. But a number of you left a lot of questions on the forum thread. And I also went through the last stream with Lasser, and I pulled out, sorry, I have a cat on me right now. Hi, kitty. No, don't stop the stream, please. And I pulled out some questions and comments from that stream as well that came up. So we're going to go straight into it, unless Brett or Miku wants to say something before I start firing questions at them.
Not too much. Go right into it.
All right, no final
So
words?
a lot of what we'll cover is what we want to.
All right. All right, I have the document in front of me, so if you see my eyes lingering on something, it's because of that. All right, and then I have chat. Where is that chat? There we go. I can see what people are saying. And of course, on a reward stream, I'm getting questions that aren't rewards, so all those non-reward questions will have to wait for another stream. All right, so one of the first questions we got, and I'm going to be looking at the questions that were posted in the forums. I'll also look at live stuff, but I do want to give priority to those who planned ahead. And no, don't cause earthquakes, kitty. So we're starting off with questions about the Dragon Hunt chests. And the first question was, only RAD and a blue RP gem seems a bit weak for a Dragon Hunt chest. Will more rewards be added before this goes live? If more rewards are added to the Dragon Hunt chest, will we be able to use reroll tokens on them? Who wants to answer that one?
So I can start with that one. We are currently still tweaking Dragon Hunt chests and rewards. We have not planned necessarily for a reroll token use, but the rewards on those chests will be more comparable to our queues.
Cool. Anything you wanted to add, Brett, or?
Nothing too much. I'll let Miku handle. They're the ones. She and Lasser have been handling a lot of the back and forth on what we're doing with the dungeon chests and the Dragon Hunt rewards.
All right, cool. Let's see. Will the Fey weapons from TCA store be unbindable at some point, like Mirage, like the Mirages?
I'll say it's an older item. It's a possibility. If it's something there's a high demand for, we can certainly look into it. But it's also not something that's sort of at the top of our list. But over time, we may add unbindable things. If there's a specific reason why people would like that to be unbound, let us know, and we can look more into it as well, and kind of up prioritize it. But it wasn't something that had been identified. That being said, we don't want to go through necessarily unbind everything, but just try to tackle things that have specific interest to the community.
And he asks if we can turn up Miku's volume a little bit.
Is this any better? I moved my microphone a bit closer.
Okay, I can hear you, but I don't know about them.
It's louder to me.
Yeah, I mean it seems clear and crisp. Hopefully people can hear you. And I heard something about my camera as well. I checked it before and it seems to work fine, but there might be some connection issues somewhere. Hopefully my internet doesn't die like last time. All right. Let's go straight to the other question is, will all rewards from end chests be tradable or sellable on Auction House?
It's a broader one. In general, we're trying to make things as unbound as possible where it makes sense to. So I can't comment that everything. It's a pretty broad spectrum of things to cover, but we're in general trying to move away from having anything be bound unless there's a strong reason for it to be bound. For example, if it's something that we feel is current top end end line gear from the most recent trial. Those are generally things that we prefer to be bound simply because we don't want players just farming those to sell on the auction house and try to limit them to the players that actually do the content to earn them. Over time, as things cease being sort of the most end game stuff, will kind of open them up to being more unbound or adding unbind tokens to them, etc. But especially things from general chests, we're trying to be pretty generous about not binding. We do have to check them all on a case by case basis. So if we find something that is bound that shouldn't be bound, we'll make some edits. But we're trying very hard to make things unbound with the updates that we're doing for module or for Dragon Slayer.
Cool. All right. And another kind of like general question, not like an item, well, I kind of item specific, but this is about Enchanting Stone rank 6. And there were some random enchant questions here and there. There are some that I think are more specific we can address. Other ones are a little bit too broad. So if we have time to get to those, we will. But this one is, and it's come up in the forums too as well, as to why players can still find like Enchanting Stone rank 6 in the Sabella store, the Event store, Cholton Dungeon, and Trial chests. So why are they still there?
You want to go for that one, Miku?
Started, but as for the the plans of what we're doing forward, I would like to have you answer that one. But essentially, we are aware of these enchanting stones still dropping. That was just kind of leftover work from refinement. Essentially, what we can say right now is that they will not be available for the Dragon Slayer campaign as rewards.
No. So we're deprecating them out a little bit. We're going to see if we can find something for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Miku cut off in the middle of that. Maybe, I don't know. There's a little bit of lag.
I heard her
I have
on
no
mine.
idea.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I wonder why.
Hopefully it all came through fine.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear it. And then also, we'll have the VOD. I recorded on my end, and then I also pull the file too. So if you miss anything, you can always go back to the
My
reference
microphone is like right in front of me now, so hopefully it's more audible.
I think you need to implant the microphone in your throat. There we go. At some point in the future, we'll have those. C2T Noir says, are you doing a Rainbow Panther vanity pet or companion pet for giveaway? Yes, I am. At the halfway mark, I will be doing one giveaway for the mount and the vanity pet together. And then towards the end, I will be doing another giveaway. And then just a little bit of a teaser. There is a couple new Rainbow Vanity pets for community exclusives coming in the near future. So just stay tuned for those. But for now, it's the Rainbow Panther. Let's see. What other questions? Let's see. Will heroics ever get rework for future rewards? So like a chance for any premium rewards or gear related to the mod, etc.
Quick question. I wanted to quantify it because there were some old dungeons that were called heroic dungeons, and then we've also had heroic encounters, which are a completely different thing. It's unlikely that heroic encounters would have such rewards, but I'll let Miku talk as far as the dungeons themselves.
So in terms of, I was actually thinking of this question as heroic encounters. So pretty much, heroic encounters are often easy to complete by a small group of players in a short amount of time, and our rewards usually scale to the content difficulty. Premium rewards or gear related to the mod often requires more participation than that. So in terms of the foreseeable future, we don't really see making drastic changes to that. However, there are some useful gear that does come from heroic encounters, such as the Dragonbone Veil shirts. So you can definitely continue to look forward to us having options in heroic encounters and other types of content.
Yep, but we're not doing like a heroic encounter rework, like rewards table wise, akin to what we're doing with sort of the dungeon chests here with Dragon Slayer.
Yep. Cool. And Eddie said, like Eddie Lea posted, can't wait for the redacted vanity pet codes that WeCCP can give out. Oh, it can give away. So any surprise, I actually have another one that I haven't told you folks about. So I have another secret in my back pocket. So lots of rainbow, everything rainbow. At some point, everything I will rainbow everything for community. So for giveaways. All right, there was actually a question from the chat that I wanted to bring up as well, just kind of let folks know that we are looking at those. And Brink213 says, are the rewards for getting your Stronghold vendors to 20 being looked at, like buff foods, etc.?
So just like we're talking about Stronghold food. Sorry, if
So
you could repeat the question.
So the rewards for getting your Stronghold to 20. Are we going to be looking at the different rewards? And one of the examples they gave were buff foods. So, because I know the rework to Strongholds has come up a lot, and we've let the community know that a rework to Stronghold isn't just something we can do a one-off. It's a big endeavor to take on. But we get smaller questions like, hey, this specific part of Strongholds, like getting it to max level or getting to level 20, are we gonna can we take some time to look at what the rewards are, like the different things you get for getting your Stronghold to that level? So do we have any plans to do that before any kind of Stronghold rework happened, or would that be rolled into a potential Stronghold rework?
I can kind of jump on that one since it's more of a general area. We have some open work basically to look at the current sort of influence and voucher sinks and whatnot for Strongholds. It's separate from a longer and bigger Stronghold rework. That being said, I can't promise any timetables on it. We're in the midst of wrapping up, again, Dragon Slayer right now and secretly working on our next module. But it's one of the things we may be able to address before we get too heavy into the throes of our next module. But no promises on that one yet because it's currently not slated. It's something that would take a bit of time, not a ton, but it will take us a bit of time to get through. So we're trying to balance that against some of the other changes that we're doing, as well as planning for the upcoming module 20 or 24 work, which is unnamed and entirely very secret right now.
Go
ahead.
One thing to add to that would just be that we are always looking at making sure that our consumables don't go out of line. And definitely there's a lot of stuff coming from Strongholds there. So we have it on the plans at least to look at the consumables, from sources such as Strongholds as well. But any other long-term work is as Brett says, we don't have any guarantees right now.
Darkspell asks, so where do I see the results of the photo draw? I'm guessing you're asking about the screenshot contest. I had the winners were like the screenshot contest ended on Monday. I did pull the number of submissions on Tuesday. Y'all blew me away. That's a lot of submissions, so it's taking a bit longer. I want to make sure that I have a chance to go through all of them. So it's taking a little bit longer, but my hope is that by tomorrow I can announce the 3 random winners. But thank you so much. We received tons of screenshot submissions. So just look for tomorrow, and I should have the announcement out with the winners. And the winners will be contacted with a reward. And then Solana Gaming says, was promised Miku time, and you delivered. I did deliver, but I can't take credit for it. Miku made herself available to me, which is nice. I can only strong-arm developers so much. All right. I didn't even have to threaten her this time, though. Other people I've had to threaten with, glares or something. That's the extent of my threatening power.
I don't recall any threatening, so it was all good.
Oh, this is another first-time chat question that I think is very appropriate. And Brett, I'm going to let you decide if you want to answer this one.
Go for it.
Is the ASMR race ever coming back?
Yes.
Oh, we're just going to leave it at that? Yes?
Soon.
Soon. Okay. All right. All right. And as always, Miku, Brett, if you see questions in chat that you want to call out, please let me know. Let's see.
I'll ask. There's one that just came up early about roadmap. Soon in that one as well. We are wrapping up Dragon Slayer, and as we wrap up Dragon Slayer, I'll have a bit more time to focus on sort of the forward-facing community efforts, and I'll be working on a roadmap then.
Dr. Serpent says new lockbox incoming. Yes, we do have a new lockbox planned, and you're actually going to get a blog on it tomorrow. So look for that, because the blog also covers the changes to the reward structure for lockboxes that Misa she talked about in her stream a few weeks ago. So All right.
And I know that it's a bit of a comment, troll comment, but Black and Jaw stuff should be out, I believe, according to Lasser for Dragon Slayer.
Cool. Yeah, that actually was a question that came up. So glad you took the time to answer that one.
General commentary is that he's done a pass on many of the older, outdated items that were dropping from dungeon chests as part of the general war table and cleaned most of them out, according to what his comments were. I had that exact same question. I was like, "Will we finally get rid of the Black and Jaw stuff?" And he's like, "Yes."
Let's see. So getting back to the questions that were sent ahead of time, is there any plan for high quality collars or high quality enchantments dropping in end chests?
That's a broader question. The current answer is no. That specifically with mount collars, we may be looking at updating them from the very base level to at least the sort of next tier up from that. But enchantments right now, the answer is no. It's something that enchantments in general in the system where it's at is something that we're looking at for some longer future plans. But there is no immediate plan to update them to drop rank 3 epic level enchants or anything like that from dungeon chests or whatnot or in other parts of the game.
Cool. So speaking of also chests, someone else asked, most dungeon trial skirmish have one free chest and one keyed chest at the end of the instance. However, some do not. Are there any plans to make it so every queued instance has the same one free chest and one keyed chest?
It's a longer term thing. I have to double check. I don't know offhand if that was covered as part of the dungeon chest reward updates for Dragon Slayer. I think there was some changes to that, but there's a handful that are still there, and I can't give you a straight answer right now, unfortunately. Maybe Miku knows, but I don't think we have. We may not have addressed that just yet.
Do you want to add to anything, Miku, or no additional information at this time?
It just kind of depends on where we're putting that reward. Like with what's on preview right now, you can see that there is one treasure chest at the end of Dragon Hunts. I mean, this is just the base feature of that. But in terms of like our regular queues, it just follows the basic system of one free chest and then the keyed chest. And then you can get the skeleton key, or you can get a key from the campaign that it's related to. So that's pretty much as far as I'm aware right now. That will remain the same.
Sorry, I'm just people talking about Black and Jaw pieces, so it makes me laugh when people try to troll each other.
I think it's gone now, so I mean,
And then so.
Our dad, Jim.
This is now Band of Air questions. The Band of Air has been brought up in the chat. I'm sure Miku and Brett have seen it. And there were also some questions that were asked about in the rewards, the forum thread. So I'm going to kind of roll them all into one Band of Air ball regarding basically any changes to Band of Air, any type of system that might allow players to get the components in a different way. Basically, Brett, I know you and I had spoken about this, so do you want to?
Yeah, I'll jump into this one since it's a very poignant topic that a lot of the community cares about. So, step one, Band of Air. In terms of the overall balance and whatnot, being blunt, there are technical issues with the Band of Air. And when I say technical issues, I mean that we have found that some of the mechanics related to how the Band of Air procs, it is allowed to proc in situations where it wasn't supposed to. This has led to it dealing more damage in some situations than it should. That being said, it's also very equipment and class specific. Some classes have under the hood mechanics that allow it to proc more than we expected, and some pieces of gear and things like feats and whatnot also have under the hood mechanics that allow it to proc more than it should have. That technical issue will be fixed at some point in the near future. Now, that being said, it will have a drastic impacts on the Band of Air's balance, and because that will be very differing on a per class basis, we have not checked in that technical fix to live because we want to appreciate what the actual impact is on players when we do it, and then reevaluate the baseline balance of Band of Air once those issues are fixed. The general technical issue right now, and this is what the community believes it to be, is that the Band of Air proc can proc off procs. That is not exactly the case under the hood, but that is sort of the rough effect of what happens. There's actually a few items in Neverwinter that we discovered also have this bug that unfortunately Band of Hair also inherited. Fortunately, most of those are other items that players don't care about that much and are some of our older items that we don't have as many issues with. But Band of Hair unfortunately inherited it and was also very strong to begin with, so it multiplied itself into causing some issues. So we were looking at Band of Hair. We will be fixing the fact that it procs off procs and changing that around, but we will also then have to reevaluate the baseline balance of Band of Air because we don't want it to drastically cut out certain builds that were using it a lot, etc. So there's some changes that are a bit more complex for Band of Air that we'll have to go through. But in general, we were not trying to make it such that we have the Band of Air procs capable of procking off other random, sometimes seemingly unrelated things, such as like the Radiant Golden Lion stacks or other things like that that can cause the Band of Air to proc as well. That is not an intended interaction, and that will be removed in the future, and then we will readjust the baseline balance of Band of Air based on those interactions no longer being possible. So that's the long, complicated story behind Band of Air in terms of its balance. Now, as far as to its obtainment, yes, we actually have some work scheduled, hopefully here, that we'll be able to get to in the next couple of months to make it easier to obtain Band of Air as well as many of the other items found in Vault of Stars. We are directly going to look at the reward tables for Vault of Stars, both from the Twisted Denizens hardcore content as well as the regular stuff, and make a pretty sweeping pass to make most of the things there more accessible, especially even other forms of rings too, like the Red Eyes Glare and other popular items in that vein. So changes will be incoming to that. I do not expect them to launch live with Dragon Slayer, but if things go smoothly, we may have updates of that out here shortly afterwards.
And so Mr. Senpai, asks a question that I think, it's pretty logical, which is, why don't we just, instead of addressing items that, are maybe too strong or not working as intended, why don't we just bring out more strong stuff on the same level? So why don't we just keep adding more really powerful things?
We definitely try to, from a standpoint of what we're looking at with rewards. With Dragon Slayer in particular, we're trying to put out hopefully a good new subset of powerful, desirable, strong items that compete well with some of the old ones. Now, that being said, every now and then, unfortunately, we encounter some either statistical outliers, such as the Bone Devil's Ribcage, or some ones that are suffering from unforeseen consequences, which would be sort of like the Band of Air. Like when we put out the Band of Air, we expected it to function one way, and it turns out it functioned in a different way, and that led to some stuff. Now, so we have a choice now where we can either balance everything around where Band of Air is at, where it sort of benefits certain classes and certain setups far more than it does for others, or we have to fix Band of Air and then balance everything around sort of where the new fixed Band of Air is, and that's likely what's going to happen. And the Bone Devil's Ribcage is also in a similar boat, where we have one specific item that is making it very, very challenging for us to develop new chest items that don't cause a fairly massive stat inflation to the game. In terms of where the system's at, once you kind of get 90% within a single stat, you don't really have anywhere else to go with that. And so when Bone Devil's Ribcage came out, we didn't have anything quite like it, and we've had it sort of persist in the game for a while, and then as we've tried to develop new rewards, it's become a bit of a stumbling point for us, where it's been like, this is very challenging for us to come out with things that compete with Bone Devil's Ribcage that also don't blow the stats out, and allow players to start capping 90% in pretty much everything, at which point people would start talking about another stat rework, which we absolutely do not want to do. So in vain of that, we've opted to target some very specific items like Bone Devil's Ribcage and at some point Band of Air and say, okay, cool, we need to do something about these specific things, but as much of the rest of the stuff we will leave alone, and when we do these things, we will try to ensure that we have a lot more interesting, viable choices, which is why, for example, the Ribcage update won't go live until we have all the other Dragon Slayer new gear out, so that hopefully there'll be a lot more choices about what you can slot on your character, rather than just being the Ribcage is the best of mine, there's no real choice, and there's nothing else kind of going on behind it. It pains us to have to do this. I'm not going to say it's something we ever want to do. And, there was the post on the forums that explains some of our philosophy behind what we're looking at with gear and trying to ensure that we don't make this mistake again. Some of these were things that we tried out. Some of them were just stuff that came out in an era when we had been, haven't had as much time to look into the mathematical details of what we wanted to do with various items, as well as the future of the stat system. And we're discovering that not all of our forecasts several years ago or in a year ago were as accurate as we wanted to do. And as a result, that's requiring us to sort of react. But we're very much trying to ensure that if we have to change an item item, A, we don't nerf it into the ground so that it's completely useless, and that B, we have other things that are fun and interesting and different choices that will make it so like, cool, well, here's some other stuff that you can use instead, so you can still potentially use that old item while perhaps or alternate over to new items, whatever the case may be. So that's the rough gist of sort of the items and where they're at, and a look at overall balance.
Cool, thank you. And there was the person who asked this question also mentioned, they're concerned about the impact on wizards, and there were other mentions about wizards. But so I did want to let people know that I am setting up a stream with Rabu Kuchera to discuss. He worked on the Bard balancing and fixes, and he is currently focused on. He's looking at wizards right now. He might have reached out to a few of you. So I do want to get him on stream and kind of discuss his approach to the class balancing and changes. So that'll be for another stream.
And part of what we just kind of discussed, we don't want any class's sort of end game performance to be contingent upon using Band of Air to spam, multitudes of procs. Again, it winds up being a situation that we did not foresee or expect when the ring was implemented at a technical level. And we want to make sure that if we have to roll out changes to Band of Air, that we address the fundamental reasons why certain specs have to use them. Some are less dependent on them, but certain ones, it's like, it's a linchpin in their sort of viability. We want to make sure that we don't just remove that crutch without fixing some of the underlying issues elsewhere.
All right, let us get to some of the questions that were posted ahead of time. So this one's about future events or battle passes. There are several things we can obtain from them, but some of them come in a form of like legendary mount choice pack. And some players already have all those, so they're wondering if we could include instead something like a pack of mount tokens or maybe some trade bars. Basically make it also available for those who have all the mounts.
We're trying to ensure that when we do like the legendary mounts joint packs, we're providing a pretty broad selection of those. We can look at including a sort of non-mount choice amongst that. If really everyone's like, cool, I've got all 6 or 7 of those legendary mounts, then great. We'll look at including sort of an opt-out option where it's like, all right, then if you don't want any of these legendary mounts, we'll see about what we can do. It's a good suggestion, and so we'll see how viable that is. We've got to make sure that we have access to that pack. Miku can correct me, but I don't think that would be impossible to do as long as the choice packs allow that.
I might change my mind when I look at,
okay.
things internally, but
all right then.
As far as
so
aware, it shouldn't.
Barring technical limitations on how we do choice packs, and hopefully they will allow some variety in that. But we will look at it, because if it's something that players are hitting, we will. It's a relatively easy option for us to at least allow like a cool. If you really don't need a legendary mount, here's something else that you can do.
That's a commentary on one of my favorite differences between content and systems designers is when you ask a content designer a question, they'll be like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Systems designers are more like, I have to go look at the data, which I absolutely love because it really does, it's a striking difference. They're both designers, but the way they approach the design, it has to be different. Just, for one, numbers dictate a lot more than the other. But I'm seeing some questions that match with chat with something we got ahead of time, which is basically how the decision is made as to what content gets what reward, and how do we decide that content deserves this really the best, awesomest reward versus, more middle of the ground reward. And the question that came up ahead of time was, does the average time to complete queues play into rewards too? So I don't know if we either want to tackle about how we sit down and decide about, which reward goes where.
You want to jump into that one, Miku, since you've had your head in exactly that realm for a while?
Well, so since there were 2 questions, I guess I'll answer the first part, which is how do we decide? So pretty much it's based on like completion times. I mean, the next question kind of already led there, but the harder the content or the longer it takes, the better the rewards. In terms of the completion times, we definitely do take a look at what our average player does, a lot more than, well, I'm not going to say specifics exactly, but we look at the average player a lot more than you'd think. Obviously, there are folks out there that are like the best of the best, and I know your names. You're looking at me somewhere out there, but we definitely take the average into account the most, because that's just the average player that's going to play our game. Like, uh, as much as we think that all players have everything, that's actually not the case when we look at the data. A lot of the players are trying to catch up, and a lot of players have a lot of different stats and different gear statuses. So really, it just wouldn't be maintainable if we only focus on like the top players are the ones that we account for. Like it's always the average, it's always sort of the common person, and then we kind of uh, play with rates as necessary when it comes to certain types of content. So, for example, like if it's more of a hardcore trial, we will take less into account the average player, and we'll account for more of the super hardcore top end players. And I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
We know your names. All right, it is the 2:30 mark, so I'm going to do a quick giveaway. Let people regroup. Let Brett and Miku scroll through chat if they
Yay.
want to find something. So um, I do need to find something that because we're no longer giving away the legendary beholder tank, but I do want to find something else to give in the future. But
While
for
you're doing
now,
that, I'll answer a quick question. Someone was asking about leveling a new character event, and that's the Never Ember recruitment event, and we actually are looking at bringing that back sometime in the next several months.
Yep.
That was a point of discussion that recently came up, and we're looking at when the next time we could potentially run that is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there are. Yeah, it was yesterday, and there are several items as rewards that we would have to change up because they're outdated. Like the rank 15 enchant pack that wouldn't make any sense right now. So, but yes, that was discussed. And let's see.
Someone was asking a question about tank gear, and the Dragon Slayer mod does include a number of new tank items and a variety of slots. So hopefully those will be highly attractive and viable for tanks.
All right. So, if you want a chance to win the Rainbow Starry Panther mount and Vanity Pet, go ahead and enter the word reward, REWARD. And it is available for all platforms. So if you are selected as one of the winners, then I'll have you reach out to me to tell me what platform you're on. But yes, reward, REWARD, for the Rainbow Starry Panther mount and Vanity Pet. And just as a little fun trivia, the first, when we released Mythic mounts, the first mount I upgraded to Mythic was the Rainbow Starry Panther mount because gotta represent. Brett, which was the first mount you upgraded to Mythic?
That's a good question. When Mythic mounts became available, I actually got lucky. I had a huge stockpile of keys and got a King of Spines in the first couple of days after it was released. It may have actually been the first day. I had to get a few boxes, so it might have been the first week. But I pulled out a King of Spines like right as in terms of the ones that I upgraded. That's a tough call. I can't remember which one I upgraded next. I have to go back and actually think about which one it was. I don't remember offhand. It was probably something.
Was it Swarm?
I think
Was
which
it
one was.
Swarm?
No, it was not Swarm. Although Swarm was probably pretty high on the list. I'm trying to remember if I had Swarm at the time when Mythic mounts were first released. At the time, it actually may have been Armored Griffin because I was using it heavily during trials at the time for the damage reduction. So it may have been Armored Griffin was the first one that I personally upgraded.
Cool. How about you, Miku?
And
Oh,
they're commenting that apparently the video has stopped on the stream, but audio is continuing.
Huh. Oh yeah,
The first mount that I upgraded to Mythic was actually internally, and I think it was actually just a horse, like just a random
Sabino Death Strider.
Yeah, something like that. But on live, I was trying to max out my bolster when it actually came out. So I don't remember when my first mount, but it would have been like Swarm or something like that. I think I upgraded Swarm to max immediately.
That's usually my default. I think video should be back. Yep, it was okay. It was an OBS Discord communication problem, but it should be back. We should be moving now. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is, in order to avoid that again, I'm going to keep this up on this window, and hopefully you can still see us move, so I can go to Moobot and draw the 3 winners. All right. Eagle Nebula. Congratulations, Eagle Nebula. Second one is Sarah, SSERA_91. Congratulations. And the final one is Iggy Tanks. Thanks, though. I don't know how to pronounce the last one, but I'll call you Iggy if that's okay for now, and then you can let me know how you pronounce your name, because I'd like to get them right. So congratulations, Iggy, Sarah, and Eagle Nebula. You've all won a Rainbow Starry Panther mount and the Vanity Pet. You can go ahead and actually DM me on Twitch if you're listening right now to let me know what platform you are on, or you can email community@crypticstudios.com. If you DM me, I have a list of codes that I have available that after the stream I can send you. So yes, once again, let me know what platform you are on, Iggy, Sarah, and Eagle Nebula. And congratulations. Archive.
Make a quick comment on
Mm-hmm.
something I saw in chat.
Yep.
Some people were asking about companions and whatnot and various end game chests. That was part of the update to rewards from the dungeon chests. Will include a refresh and a change up of some of the companions on there. I won't say it will necessarily include all of the old companions, but we are actively looking at ways to bring back some of the very rare companions. Some of them may show up in the Wondrous Bazaar. Some of them may show up in the Zen store. There's a number of ways that we're looking at bringing this back. Some of them may just show up in the future season passes. So rest assured that we are finding one. I know there was a specific call out for something like the tutor, and I don't remember the exact avenue, but somebody had proposed putting the tutor back in as reward somewhere. I don't remember where, but it did come up recently. So that one will make a reappearance here at some time in the near future. But the rest of the general companions, the slate of those and what is rewarded from Dungeon Chest was part of the revisions for Dragon Slayer.
Cool, thank you. All right, answering in chat how to get your reward if you won the giveaway. All right. Let's see. So this one was an interesting question that came up, and it's a combination of both rewards and like UI UX. So I like these kind of questions because it does show that not one thing in the game is isolated. We do have to work with other areas. And this was could you allow us to open the auction house when we open the chest in the dungeon or trials? Sometimes we get unusual drops, and we want to check if the value is at least decent, or should we keep re-rolling? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, it bothers me too. I'll ask about that one, see how complicated that is. Obviously, probably a technical limitation, and we'll just have to check and see if it causes any issues to modify that.
We'll also just want to make sure that it doesn't cause any unintended side effects.
Cool. So this is a question about VIP. I know that during Lasser's stream, he talked about the rerolls and the limit to rerolls, but the improvement of the rewards. And so one of the questions we got for this stream was, will we still get 3 reroll tokens from VIP at its highest rank?
VIP is not changing the number of reroll tokens it provides, so you will still be getting the same amount. They'll just be worth more.
Cool. All right. Let's see. So here are some different questions about like the different types of shops we have and what people can get from them. Let me see which one. Aha, yes, because I also saw something in chat about this. The Astral Diamond vendor has been having some added love to it, and that's great. But can we have it at a more frequent rate? Like we have the Astral Lockbox, the Nox Lockbox, the like the mount, like the Eclipse Lion, Colmotes. So yes, are there any plans on increasing the frequency and also adding newer things to the limited time Wondrous Bazaar?
We are very much trying to add more things to it. That being said, there is a time cost. Adding things to it does take some effort on our part. So we're trying to increase it. We're trying to fight the sort of, AD backlog on the Zen Exchange. We've actually brought it down. I believe that a few months ago, we were at around 68 million on the PC platform, and that's come down to 61 million on the PC platform. So a combination of a few things like Wondrous Bazaar updates, as well as I think Shar and our Master Crafting probably had an impact on that, given the cost of recipes as well. We've seen that backlog actually go down, and we're going to try to continue that. It's not going to be an instantaneous thing, but we're trying to keep it up as much as possible, offer a variety of things, as well as things that players in the past have liked and maybe may have missed, or even new players to the game that very much want. We will be bringing back some oldies and then continuing to add some new ones. I can't promise a rate increase, though. We've improved, I think, the rate at which items are offered as part of the Wondrous Bazaar, but it takes time, so it's not something we can always do. It peels people away from working on new stuff, and we can't afford to necessarily slow down Dragon Slayer a ton as we try to peel things into the Wondrous Bazaar. But we are broadening our library of things that we offer in the Wondrous Bazaar, and hopefully you can see that from some of the recent things we've been offering.
Cool. Let's see. There were some questions in chat regarding the. So a couple. Actually, one was comment. One was a question regarding illusion. One player wanted to know. Toxic 12. Can you bring a way to obtain brilliant energy illusion? And then someone C2T Noir says preview for illusions. I'm guessing that they are saying that they would like a way to preview illusions. So yes, any response on regarding the way to obtain the brilliant energy illusion, and can we also include a way to preview illusions?
We'll look at bringing the brilliant energy illusion back. I'm actually not familiar with that one. That one may predate me, or I'm not even certain where it came from. But we'll check into it and see if it's something that's popular and was rarely available. We'll try to make it have a reappearance. In general, some of the older appearance items that were hard to get or very rarely available, or may have only been available in like a random pack from 4 years ago, we're looking at kind of bringing those back. And those are oftentimes the things that we are looking at bringing back through a combination of, again, battle or season passes, the Wondrous Bazaar, or the Zen store. So combinations of those are likely where some of those things will appear. As far as previewing illusions, that'd be great. I'll have to ask, though. I can't make any promises. There might be some limitations because it's not quite part of our normal appearance system. It's a new thing that was created as we sort of generated the illusion system when we did the enchantment update.
Yeah, I for one would like to do a plus one for the preview. I like being able to preview everything we get, so letting my personal wants get in here too. All right. Let's see. Yes, I'm seeing questions about the bringing back the Alliance battle horn. So I think Brett,
There's
you
a
might have
number of
opinions.
things I'll specifically talk about. There's a number of things, and some of them were tied to call to arms and whatnot that we're very explicitly looking at bringing back or finding new ways. Again, those are also items that may very much show up in the Wondrous Bazaar if we've looked seriously at what we could potentially do to bring back call to arms as a whole as an event series. There's some things, some of the call to arms maps we liked lots. Some of them were more problematic than others, and in the interim, we've discussed a couple of times of looking at those as being items we can bring back to the Wondrous Bazaar in the interim.
Cool. Let me check for other questions. There's a lot of questions in this document, so. So if you folks see something that catches your attention, let me know. I am just trying to find. Aha, here we go. Let's see. So again, specific shop questions. Sage shop rewards. Is it possible? This is talking about like the cost of enchantments and stuff like that. So they ask, is it possible for the 100,000 AD cost could be lowered for rank 1 green enchantments? Who wants to?
You're muted.
Oh.
Sorry, my dog started barking and I muted myself. But the cost of the enchantments was set at about 100,000, which is about a day worth of rough astral diamonds. You can earn that in roughly a day, and the future costs are kind of based on that. We'll look at it, but it's something that we thought as a baseline was a reasonable enough starting point. It's intended to be a small hurdle. Players could effectively grind out all of their slots for those enchantments in less than a month if they just got their rough AD per day and then bottom enchantment, et cetera, and then work through it. Otherwise, they can just look at getting more AD and going straight to higher ranks within that one. And the cost of enchantments is obviously still largely driven by the coalescent motes and other upgrade materials. But at the lowest ranks, we wanted to have it some level of cost to entry. But if we wind up seeing that players are just largely ignoring it and going straight to rank 2s or beyond, then we'll adjust it downwards. But right now, it's not like as much of a huge blocker since a lot of players have actually jumped in and have already gone up to the higher ranks.
Cool. In chat, Jerice asks, in the future, will you do a system bind account to the mythic insignias like the mythic enchantments?
Oh, you're talking about with mythic insignias, allowing them to be swappable between characters. That
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Possibly. I'm not going to commit to that. The enchantment ones was a new sort of thing that we did, allowing you to max out. So they're talking about if you max out, get to mythic and enchantment, you can then trade it in for an account bound version that all of your characters can reclaim. They're asking, could we do that with insignias or other things? It's a possibility. I'm not going to commit to it, but it's something that we will look into. I'll ask more about that one later.
This one is actually an interesting one because I'm not sure if it involves, kind of guidance we get from WotC from Wizards of the Coast, but I'm just there for the hypo. Asked, did you work on making transmute cross classes so fighters can use Watcher's Hammer for paladins? So yeah, could we have like transmute so that, you could have like a wizard with a longsword, stuff like that? Or would that be something that Wizards of the Coast would be like, no?
I mean, given where our class, in some cases it would be appropriate. In other cases, a little less so. Hammers to swords, between fighters and paladins is not that big a deal. There's some technical underpinnings there, though, and that's the reality of it. Is that I know that players look at it as like, well, this is just the appearance of the item, but from a technical standpoint, there's some differences there. So I can't promise it. It's something that presents challenges, I think, to how we do appearance items that may not work out. So it's something I'll ask about, but I would, being blunt, I would view that as unlikely. I don't want to, make people have positive hope. It's unlikely, but I'll ask about it. If it winds up being something simple, we could certainly look at it. But given how our weapons are set up and how they're generally class specific tier breakdowns, we would be better off, honestly, making a fighter version of the hammer, and that would probably be an easier solution.
Oh, I was hoping to see a barbarian like lob the artifact balls like orbs that float in the air at people as their
Yeah.
attack. Here's a question about collections from chat, and it also has come up previously in other streams as well, which is some items in the collections are not available anymore from certain campaigns. Is there any thought of making them available for people once again so we can complete our collections?
Overall, we would like to. It takes a bit of time, and if we identify specific ones that are unavailable, those are also things that we may just bring back and make purchasable from the Wondrous Bazaar or other avenues, so that you can just sort of advance to them. We may not be able to easily, for example, create a whole new avenue for earning them in game, or retrofit the old campaigns to give you access to the game, because that also takes a bit of work. But if there are specific things where like, hey, X item is not available, you can't even earn in the campaign, and it's part of a collection, and you can't complete the collection. Okay, it's more the incentive for us to figure out a way to offer it up through someplace direct, like the Wondrous Bazaar or other avenues, shops, whatever the case may be, even campaign stores, just so that you can buy it and finish out those collections. I definitely have hit that issue in a couple of things as well too.
And just to add on to that, most events coming up, try to check the Wondrous Bazaar, because there might be things in there that you haven't seen before or were from an older time. You may have noticed this with the Day of the Dungeon Master, so just keep out an eye out for that. And yeah.
I think spring. I was just thinking about that. I was like, hey, that happened in Day of Dungeon Master. We included the limited time things in the Wondrous Bazaar. So. And we made a point to call it out, I think, in the blog, but we'll also make it, if we do have limited time things that are tied to events coming into the Wondrous Bazaar, we'll make a point to call it out so players know where to check. Let's see, there was a question here about which kind of relates a little bit to something we're already doing with Dragon Hunts, but in another game, killing more or all of more difficult enemies increases the loot of the completion of content being ran. There's basically tiers within a dungeon to increase chest rewards. Is it possible or impossible to implement into Neverwinter?
That's a very broad question.
Well, I mean, we could kind of answer it in a way, because in the upcoming Dragon Hunts, you'll be able to use modifiers. These modifiers will increase the difficulty of the dragon and increase your rewards. So essentially, that's exactly what that question was asking for, and so we can do it. Not sure about future plans but Brett can answer more about that.
I mean, we have also done the runic encounter system where you would add different types of runes, and the reward would change. I mean, you get different rewards, and it would state if you use this rune, you would get this reward. So I know we've done that system before.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Questions that are not reward questions, so we're not going to address those.
Lots of non-reward questions.
Yeah.
I know people were asking about like previewing boss fights, and yeah, we've talked about that as far as future dungeons design where possible too, like trying to put more mechanics for boss fights prior to the boss fight, so it's a little bit easier to learn them. We've done that in some places very well, in other places less so, and as we build new bosses and new dungeons and new trials, we'll try to. Trials are a little bit tough because it's sometimes difficult to preview those mechanics and for trials. Plus, we kind of want them to be a little bit secret for the players to figure out. It's part of the grindiness. But for dungeons, it definitely helps, since those are often more public affairs.
And then this is actually a question from chat that I know Miku and I have discussed also as well, which is, can we expect more cosmetic type rewards in future content, such as illusions, capes, armors, fashion? So Miku, do you want to talk about that one? See if you would like to do something like that, or
Oh, we would always like to give more rewards. It just really depends on the rest of the capacity of our team at the moment. But also, essentially, we will always try to give you a mix of it. Maybe not everything that was mentioned at list at once, but with modules coming and with releases coming, you should see a mix of these things being rewarded as sort of like you won't get like a fashion necessarily all at once. Maybe you might get it within the next patch or something like that. But we always try to include cosmetic type rewards into our plans. So it just might not be all at once, but you will always see a steady release of it.
And there's a particular hairstyle I think we've discussed of wanting, involving infinite pigtails.
I'm not sure about that one, but definitely,
We'd somehow make it work.
definitely trying to push for something personally, but
So let's see. Regarding loot for random queues, that's a question that was sent ahead. What about companions or mounts? The last several mods, it seems to have seen that the drops of these have decreased. So I don't know if we've made adjustments or if there's just more content out there, so it looks like it's decreased. Or any comment regarding putting companions and mounts as random, like random queue drops.
I think that was somewhat addressed sort of earlier when I talked about some of the dungeon reward changes. We believe that should go up with module with Dragon Slayer. I can't comment on the specifics because I'm not privy to I haven't memorized the exact reward tables, but the high level targets for Dragon Slayer when we update the random dungeon queue reward chest was to increase the number of companions and mounts that you could acquire just by doing those, and also to sort of better improve the pool of companions that were available throughout those. So there will be changes to those that go live in Dragon Slayer, and I just encourage you all to go out and run some random queues and check it out.
Says, so with the upcoming updated Tiamat trial and its rewards, are there similar plans to do something like that with Svarborg, especially in terms of obtaining keys for the rewards for that trial?
No. So the keys for Svarborg are still ground out through the campaign. So those are all perfectly obtainable, although some of them certainly take more time than others. But with Svarborg, it's on our list, but it's not as quite as high up. Svarborg is a little more modern than Tiamat or Demogorgon were. Specifically, Tiamat and Demogorgon were sort of a very older style where you had like infinite lives and you could go constantly through it. They and at various points they became very low challenge because as long as you sort of had infinite lives, it was extremely unlikely that you would ever fail to complete them. Svarborg at least has the chance of failure because if the group wipes, you don't break people out of the ice, you'll eventually fail Svarborg. So it's a little bit less. There are some fixes to Svarborg, being blunt, that we know need to go into it, and we have targeted plans for like, hey, let's do this, try to fix some stuff. But the main thing for targeting is like, when we do those reworks, we want to try to add some reward updates, do some refreshes of other things, etc. So that's what we need to look at for Svarborg. So I'm not going to promise anything, but being blunt, I think Svarborg's a little bit lower on our priority list just because Tiamat and Demogorgon were so different than our other trials and dungeons in terms of where they've gone recently that we wanted to hit those two first, and we'll tackle other ones. But we're kind of, as we wrap up Dragon Slayer and move on to our future modules, we're also trying to look at, well, what do we want to do? What, new dungeons and new trials do we want to do? What's coming up next? So we have to balance that time, people working on updating the older trials versus going to the new ones. So Svarborg's a little bit lower on that list as a result.
Cool. There's a question. So this is a question regarding PvP rewards. So Isruzi Live says, bring back PvP rewards, rankings, monthly rewards. And I know that PvP is something that it's kind of like Strongholds, where it's one of those things that requires more work than just a one-off. But there are, and people asked about other rewards before, which is, there were a number of PvP rewards that players still want, either for collection reasons or, for whatever personal reasons. Would we ever think of a way of bringing them back before doing a PvP rework, or leaving them kind of to the side until we decide to focus more on PvP?
We have a plan to look at what we can do to improve access to some of the PvP rewards, since the mechanism for getting, which is basically doing lots of PvP matches, is very challenging given some of the player pools for PvP right now. That being said, we also don't have any current plans for redoing new PvP seasons or things along those lines. We've generally found participation for them to be relatively low, and in terms of the target groups that were earning the rewards from it was still very small, even when we were refreshing the PvP seasons. As a result, most of the people that have been working on various PvP seasons and other forms of PvP focused rewards have shifted over to working on more PvE rewards and PvE seasons. So I don't want to set anyone up for false expectations of where PvP is going to go. I would not expect any refreshes to the seasons anytime soon. But that being said, we are aware that, for example, some of the artifacts and other things are very challenging to get right now and are largely unobtainable to a portion of the player base, and we don't like that either. So we'll be looking at ways that we can try to have access to those become more available, so players can still get the items if they want them, even if we don't have a great way of making it super easy to get into PvP matches. So.
Is there a reason why sometimes the reward gear is not does not show up in the collections?
Bugs.
Well, so there's actually essentially anything that is part of a campaign or module, you will definitely expect it to be there. If it's something more transient, like potentially we have it limited for a limited time, it might not be there. But if it's something that you can get, again, like as you can see, this gets a bit complicated already from just me saying all these. But essentially, events and campaigns are what we can guarantee to be on there. Anything else is kind of up in the air.
Yeah. To comment, there's at least two issues that specifically on a technical end. Sometimes obtaining an item doesn't complete the completion. Those in most cases are bugs. Those are just due to sort of internal item issues. If we see those, call them out and we'll try to fix them. We found at least a couple of them recently. We know there was an issue with like Earl the Chicken Mancer, for example. When you obtained him, it wasn't completing the collection. That I believe will be fixed or has been. And then a couple other ones, like where just certain items just don't show up, like they're permanent drops from like a boss or from a chest or something, and they're just not on the list. Those we just need to update. We've run into some odd issues where certain things were actually gated due to time to not appear, and then for some reason we never fixed those gates, and then they just never appeared at all, or the gates expired. They were showing up for a while, and then they disappeared inappropriately. They should have been set up to, once they were revealed, to be revealed forever. And we unfortunately sometimes miss out on make sure it's revealed forever, not for say 6 months. And so we've run into some odds with that. So call them out, let us know, and we'll try to tackle stuff like that. So if something, if he's like, hey, I have this item and it's a permanent item and you can get it and it just doesn't show up there, let us know, and we'll make sure we need to address those.
Yep. Yeah, and when players report things like getting an item at a certain quality but not getting credit for previous qualities, those are things that when players report them on the forums, they definitely get escalated, and they get entered as something we'd like to fix, and then it's a matter of prioritizing time. But yes, if there are specific things that are not showing up or that you'd like, just continue to post them on the forums because they do get reported, and they get submitted internally.
We definitely do want those reports, especially for items that you can't get. Like, for example, if you can only get the 3rd rank of an artifact and you can't get the other 2, definitely let us know. It is possible to make sure that you get the other ranks in your collections.
Galactic, fine. I'll ask your questions, Galactic. Hi, Galactic. Will the rewards be spread out between multiple dungeon trials so that it can incentivize the player base to run older content and breathe some life into content that is more or less dead, reward-wise? So some of the older content. And will you update rewards with every new module?
I believe this was covered a bit in the prior stream. There will be certain appearance items that will be found only in specific pieces of content. Like you can only get X thing from Dread Legion and a few other ones like that too. We haven't gone as far as to say like, cool, you can only get this companion from so and so. We've tried to broaden that out a little bit so that you can get a broader subset of the rewards from various places. But there are some cosmetic and appearance items that you can only get from specific instances. We understand that but it's hard for us to obviously go back and revise every single dungeon and every single reward table with every single release. Manpower wise, that's tough because we also have to focus a lot on the new things as well. So we've spent a lot of effort here with Dragon Slayer to try to revise and improve the reward tables across a lot of the dungeons used for the random dungeon queue, random advanced dungeon queue, the random trial queue, skirmish queue, etc. And we'll follow that and see how that plays out. But the reality is, I don't want to set anyone up for false hopes. Things like, cool, we can adjust the reward tables for everything in the game on a specific dungeon basis, every single module. That's not probably in the books for the near future, but we can make targeted improvements. And I'll quickly address something else that came up that was related to appearances. There are technical reasons why appearance items are limited to 100 per slot, but we are looking at changes to that in the near future for what we can do to see how much flexibility we have with that. But it is a technical limitation. We can't allow every player to have an unlimited number of items everywhere. Server space does cost money, and that's the reality of the situation. So we're looking at what we can do, then what's safe, and how much we can expand everything. It's not just appearance items. We're looking at everything from like vanity pet slots to resource workshop slots, things like that, as well as inventory slots and as well as appearance item slots. But we have to investigate those carefully to ensure that we don't wind up with players with crazy amounts of items that could cause problems.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. We have a couple of minutes left, but does this? And this has come in the past. Kind of jumping back a little bit to the collections, and he says, "How about having rewards to spend our collection points on? Because I know right now collection points are, it's a bragging right. But have we ever thought about being able, like, letting players cash in some of those collection points? I'm seeing laughing, and that's kind of okay, I'm worried now.
I think the answer is probably yes. We very much would like to do that, but it would be a whole new system, so it's not on our books right now. So that's the whole thing. We're all like, oh, we really want something to do with these collection points, but then it's like, oh, but we have to put in a whole new like shop or other way of tallying things up and figuring it out. So there's obviously a lot of things that players want us to fix when it comes to rewards, dungeon rewards, all those sorts of things. So it always competes with time with that. And every time we do that, we're always like, we should probably look at the dungeons more. We should look at the trials. We should look at these things more. So it always winds up being at the bottom of the list. It may eventually get up there, but sadly, it always winds up being lower priority than a lot of the other requests that we get.
Yeah. And I think, that just by evidence, just the questions we got ahead of time and the questions and the comments that have come up during chat, the topic of rewards is very broad. And this helped me kind of get a baseline for if we do future streams on this topic, like how do we kind of narrow down or put a better focus on them, because rewards is so broad. And so this is something I will discuss later on, with Brett and Miku and other folks on the team, like what kind of approach can we take to these streams? Because there's a lot of value in the questions you folks ask, but it is kind of all over the place. Rewards is something that is just everywhere. So I'm looking forward to the feedback for both internally and from the community as to kind of the focus of these streams that are in such broad nature. But that being said, I'm going to do one final giveaway. And Miku, Brett, as always, feel free to look at the chat while I am setting up the giveaway and see if there's anything you want to address.
Sure, I can do a little bit of, let's see, what was the one? There's a couple of lightning round things. Actually, we actually got through a lot of those. Wow.
All right, let me get through. So, yeah, if you want
insignia powders, people have asked about, can we get more insignia powder from dungeons? We're giving out more insignias, which you can convert to insignia powder. So we've also talked about maybe just giving insignia powder directly, but with Dragon Slayer, you should see an increase in the number of insignias you get, which again, you can just throw away if you don't want, or sell in the auction house to get more insignia powder.
For a chance to, one final chance for the stream to win a Rainbow Starry Panther Mountain Vanity Pet, please type in the word Panther, Panther. So, and then with that, go ahead.
Two more things while you're doing that. Reaper's Challenge store, we're looking at some updates to that. We understand, there's a few things in there that are still very valuable, like the greater shards, but, we expect most players to largely, that's one of the large, but there's also a few other things in there that are good for consumable ones. But we're looking at refreshes to that. We'll try to keep the Reaper store, up to date, because we want that to be something desirable for our really advanced players to cash in on. And then specifically trade bar stores, also yes. No set time frame for that. Hopefully sometime in the middle future. But we have talked a lot about, for example, putting enchantments back in, etc. And so we are looking at what we could do to spice up the trade bar store. In general, we're trying to hit up refreshes of those kind of key stores at least once a year, if not a couple of times a year, to add more options and change things up as they get stale. And as you can see with some of the things we've been doing recently with the Wondrous Bazaar and whatnot, we want to keep that trend going with some of our other in-game stores too.
Yeah, someone was saying, can we have the insignia powder jackpot like they do with the trade bar stores with the trade bars and lockboxes? So, insignia powder is something that does get brought up a lot. So,
need a lot of it.
Yeah, you do. But we are aware it comes up a lot. But I still like to mention it to folks internally that it does come up a lot. So, Miku, is there anything that I missed on your end for questions you wanted to address? I know I kind of jumped around the document a bit.
Well, there was a question I noticed that, let's see, it was, are we still adjusting Dragon Hunter gear stats and equip bonuses? Well, to answer that, yes. But
But not for long.
not for
No.
long. But there will be some news soon on preview. So besides the changes that we talked about today with the ribcage, feel free to check out those changes whenever. I'm not promising a time or anything, but just soon, whenever it's on preview, feel free to check out all the changes that we recently made with feedback on the forums as well as internal discussions, and feel free to let us know what you think.
Yeah. And by the way, for those of you who missed it, we did announce the release date for Dragon Slayer. It is June 14th for all platforms. So yes, that is, we're still on track to do all.
Simultaneous platform release.
It is a relief. It is a relief. No, it's a good slip of the tongue there, because I know it's something people have been wanting for a while. So we're still on track for that. But yes, June 14th. So not that, a little under a month. But I'm going to draw the winners. So the first one is Pyno94, Pyno94. And then we have Top Shotters Forever. And the third one is Why So Pro. So congratulations, Why So Pro, Top Shotters, and Pyno. Go ahead and either DM me here on Twitch, and after the stream I'll get you the codes, or you can email community@crypticstudios.com to let me know what platform you are on, so I can give you the appropriate codes for the Rainbow Starry Panther mount and Vanity Pet. And I'm going to archive that. All right, any final words, Miku and Brent?
Nothing from me, really. I hope that you will all enjoy Dragon Slayer. We're getting very, very close. And, I was joking about like fewer changes. We were getting close to our lockdown period. That doesn't mean that we won't continue to make updates. But at some point, we have to basically cut down a little bit on the volume of changes so that we can ensure that we've got a nice stable build that we can test, get as few bugs as possible when we launch it on June 14th. I hope it'll be awesome. Stay tuned. You'll probably see some more of me and other members of the Neverwinter team as we get close to that. We'll do some more streams and other fun things along those lines, and probably some live play when Dragon Hunts and Dragon Slayers launch.
Yep. Yeah, I have a few more streams planned leading up to the launch, and then with June Jubilees coming out, and I always love to do the speech, the Lord's speech live, because it's great. And yeah, as always, thank you to those who tuned in to watch. Thank you to the community for your questions, and thank you, Brett and Miku. Always a pleasure, and hope to have you as guests soon. And stay safe, everybody. Have a wonderful Thursday or Friday, wherever you are in the world. Talk to you later.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.